Hey guys, it's Oscar, and on the Space Couch today I'm going to be reviewing this Re-Enter Fu-Manchu by Sax Rohmer, the second of the 99p bargains I got from Forbidden Planet a couple of weeks ago. So this one, the action has moved to the 1950s. And basically the Western powers have been promised this super fabulous device that will basically stop incoming missiles that are launched at their countries. It's basically kind of like that creates a sound barrier, like a shell, and when anything hits it, it'll just disintegrate. And Nayland-Smith, who is in Egypt, has to smuggle this German scientist, Dr. Hessian, I think it is, to New York so he can do a demonstration. Now he's got a new assistant in this, and what is his name? It's Brian something. What was it? Merrick, Brian Merrick, and his father is a US senator, so he's an American chap, and he's in London. And like the other Fu-Manchu book, basically women will just come up to, or a woman certainly, suddenly shows interest in him, and he's all in love, and she asks him leading questions about what he's doing and all that sort of thing. He basically gets this dream job out of nowhere. It's almost like it was made just for him, to accompany Nayland-Smith to Cairo to be part of this group to bring the Doctor back. Except he's not actually doing anything when he's there, because Nayland-Smith supposedly isn't in Cairo yet, but he sees him, that is Brian, sees him when he's out in the streets of Cairo, dangerous place in the 1950s for Westerners, and there's a riot and he has to run up some stairs into some house that doesn't have anyone in it, and when he's on the roof, he sees Nayland-Smith in a room in a house opposite. Isn't that convenient? That will be important later. So anyway, Nayland-Smith then appears, but he's a bit different. He's now got a plaster on the bridge of his nose. And Brian doesn't say anything that he saw him earlier, because it's all a little bit sus. But Nayland-Smith's just basically not giving him anything to do. But there is stuff going on in the background, of course. Fu-Manchu is in Cairo. He's heavily involved in all of this plotting. And the Nayland-Smith is actually a duplicate. It's not the real Nayland-Smith, although it was the real Nayland-Smith that Brian sees in that room. But there's now someone who's had plastic surgery, and almost impossible to tell the difference, although there's a few little things that Brian just thinks is a little bit odd at the back of his mind. But then another woman turns up out of the blue and falls in love with him, so that's all alright then. He's not suspicious at all, although she asks a few leading questions and he is then suspicious. Yeah, I tell you what, as I said before, they are the dumbest men on the face of the planet. They'll fall for anything, they really will. Also, plenty of insults in this one as well. I didn't mention in the previous review, but Fu-Manchu's assistant, who is of Chinese origin, he calls her Koreani, basically the word Korean with the letter I at the end. That is a massive insult, is my understanding, for Chinese people to be called Korean or anything like that. In this one, he describes an Arab gentleman who's in a full Arab outfit as having a face like a side of bacon. And also someone else, the woman that Brian has shown interest in, who is of course an agent of Fu-Manchu, she's half Arab, and Nayland-Smith, the fake Nayland-Smith, says, you can't trust them, they're like snow in the desert, you know, changeable like that, because she is part Arab. There's loads of stuff like that in there. Ugh. But anyway, they go to New York to arrange this demonstration, secure hotel set up. The real Nayland-Smith suddenly turns up out of nowhere. Not really explained very well. And it turns out that Dr. Hessian is in fact Fu-Manchu in disguise, and had him in their midst all this time and they never even realised. Now, this device, this sound barrier, is legitimate, and it is Fu-Manchu's own invention. The real Dr. Hessian has probably been long dead. But the reason Fu-Manchu wants to give this to the Americans is because if they are then protected, he can take over China, because it will then fall apart, because it won't be able to attack the West. And that is his ulterior motive. Of course, it doesn't go according to plan. It's all foiled. The woman that Brian was in love with in London, yes or no, another one, called Lola, who was asking loads of leading questions and stuff, turns out to have been an agent of the real Nayland-Smith the whole time. So she was one of the good people. Yeah, although they do make it very murky in these things. She's very fickle as well, not just the fact that she's an agent. But yes, so the plans are foiled, the West is saved again. Fu-Manchu, like in the last book, just disappears, gone like Kaiser Soze. So yes, and I assume there are other adventures. Though Sax Rohmer died a few years after that, so I don't know how many there were after that. But there's several other Fu-Manchu books I haven't read yet that maybe I'll get around to in due course. But for now, that is just my review of Re-Enter Fu-Manchu. Loads of insults in this, unfortunately, just like the last one. I'm sure that's true of all of them. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment suggestion for a common topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.